I now call this regular meeting of Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. Director Klein Jerome, would you please read the board priorities?
The Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students: provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classroom, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Director Beck, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Yes, the mission statement: enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. Vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you. Tonight we have a presentation on the time capsule of hope. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Schneckloff to kick it off.
We had a wonderful event that occurred last week, and I will tell you this event wouldn't have happened without our extraordinary leader, Ms. Corey Spiegel at the city, and Jabari Woods from Davenport Schools, and it did inspire hope. And for anyone that was there or watched it online, our students were on display, and it was an absolutely extraordinary event. A tree is planted and a capsule is now on the ground that stands as a symbol to where anybody can drive by and see that tree and see that capsule, and it was outstanding. So we've asked Jabari Woods, who was absolutely instrumental in getting that kind of thought, that idea up and off the ground. So first of all, Jabari, thank you for your efforts in getting that going. You did an outstanding job representing the district and our community, and I want to thank you on behalf of the board and myself for putting that together. So Jabari, if you wouldn't mind kind of capturing what the day was and what it meant to the community, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Superintendent, for those kind words. And if hope was a visual, that means only one person's got hope on the day, and that's Mr. Snyder. So let's give him a round of applause. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, we get started. Okay. Good evening to the illustrious board and superintendent. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to recap the Time Capsule of Hope event this evening. Hope truly springs eternal. Yah created us all to believe without seeing. You cannot handcuff hope. You can't put it in a box. It is invisible as the wind and as powerful and necessary as the air we breathe. After the perils of 2020, hope is what our schools, community, and world needed. The Time Capsule of Hope event started in the fall on Saturday, October 17th, 2020, as our students came together with our community members, our superintendent, our school board members, and our city officials to celebrate a new beginning by planting a London plane tree in Vanderbilt Park as a symbol of a better tomorrow and a better future. During the event, our students and community members reflected personally on how the past year has impacted their lives, from COVID-19 to the record storms to the civil unrest, but they left the fall event inspired and renewed with a mandate to determine a positive pathway forward. As the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as a garden calls the things that are sown into spring forth, Friday, April 30th, 2021 arrived. As a community, we came together to plan a beautiful handcrafted capsule full of hundreds of hopes and dreams from our students into the earth. As our students shared their dreams for the future, history was being made. Like a scene of the cinematic masterpiece, Back to the Future. The closest thing we have to time travel is to write down our hopes and dreams for the future and revisit them years later. I will never forget this year, as I witnessed a superintendent lead with his heart and his mind. I witnessed a board unify and focus more than ever on helping our kids. I witnessed a community mourn, rejoice, and fight for justice for Breasia Terrell. I witnessed the birth of social entrepreneurship as money was raised to meet the needs of our underprivileged children and parents and families, and a voice speaking on behalf of those underprivileged populations who could not speak for themselves. I witnessed too many young people killed at the hands of their fellow brother. But most importantly, through it all, I witnessed hope. I leave you with the famous words of Emily Dickerson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul, and sings the tunes without words and never stops at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jabari, for that. I know several board members were there along with myself. Do any of you want to talk about? I'm sure Bruce wants to talk about the gal singing and everything because that was awesome. Director Klein-Jerome was there, Director Beck, Director Snyder, and Director Potts and myself. So if any of you want to say anything, feel free. Nada?
No, I'm good.
Director Beck.
First of all, thank you for your, it was really more of a speech, but it was fantastic, and I really appreciate that. You summed it up really well. It was an honor to be part of this project, and however little tiny bit I was a part of it, and the students who were able to share their work at the burying of the time capsule were really phenomenal. And literally, I cried when that young woman sang. So it was very moving. I really appreciated being able to hear all the different ideas that the kids had. And then, how often do we get to shovel dirt on a time capsule? I mean, that was very cool. And anybody who wanted to, who was in the park that day, was able to. And so it was a phenomenal event. I look forward to being around when the time capsule is unearthed. Fingers crossed. And thank you so much for making this happen. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I will echo that as well, Jabari. I think you and Miss Spiegel did an awesome job. And having all the kids there and everything like that made it all that much better. I thought the first event was really cool, where we had a lot of students there as well, and then the second event as well. So thank you very much for your hard work and dedication on this. You have anything you wanted to say?
That's it. Thank you. And Jamie.
Nice
Oh, Director Snyder.
I just emailed a picture of what the time capsule looked like to Brenda, and if she gets a chance, maybe during our meeting, she could put it up so you guys can see it. It's pretty impressive. Just the one side of it anyway that has the school boards on it, and then on the other side, it had all of the mayor and the aldermen on it. It was very well done.
Thank you, sir. All right, student board reports.
Well, I have to thank Asher today because I think
Yeah,
he's
I get
actually
the,
doing
I get to do all three of them.
all three of them
pulled up
today.
here.
So talk about dedication. Thank you
All right,
for
yeah,
stepping
we
up
can,
to the plate today.
We can start with North ones, I guess. I just got sent this in an email. So their prom was on May 1st. It's written down as a huge success, with Quincy Wiseman and Jordan Colton being crowned prom king and queen, respectively. The drama department's putting on a musical entitled Songs for a New World by Jason Robert Brown. Show dates are May 14th at 7, May 15th at 7, and May 16th at 2. Tickets can be purchased in advance at dnhs.booktix.com and will be sold at the door as well. It'll also be live streamed, and you can contact Student Representative Casey Scott. I don't know where he is, but he's around here somewhere, for more information on that. Graduation, speakers have been brainstorming and formulating speeches. Rehearsal is Tuesday, June 3rd, and the actual graduation is June 6th. For West, their prom's on Saturday, May 15th, and they're putting on an Addams Family musical on May 21st and 22nd. They just had their Senior 7 celebration and their athletic signing day. Senior 7 is the students that complete the career readiness activities, and these are what they are. Going on a college visit, either at a college or a technical school or local union, completing the FAFSA, taking the ACT, SAT, ASVAB, or AKEKS, creating a resume, applying for a scholarship or internship, taking a dual credit course, having 30 volunteer hours, and completing Matchmaker, Ability Profiler, Learning Styles, and Financial Aid Selectors on Career Cruising. So that's West. Central, we had our prom on May 1st too. It was pretty cool. Prom king was Demeric Angel, and Meredith Sloat was the prom queen. Band and orchestra recorded for state contest this week, and we've had AP tests the last 2 weeks. That have been a lot of fun. They've crammed us all into the library, kept it as distanced as possible. But yeah, we're looking at wrapping up the school year right now. Fun times. think that's
Thank you for
everything.
that. Very
got something from,
comprehensive district-wide update.
You need anything from Mid-City either? I can.
No.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Are there any board reports? The only board report I have, we attended the city council meeting, I think 2 weeks ago. And Superintendent Schneckloff and myself received the proclamation from the city of Davenport acknowledging safety in the school speed zones, which everyone knows I'm very passionate about that because I got the sign right behind me. So we do want to thank them for that. And then we did finish up they did vote on the MOU for the SROs, which was signed, so that's a done deal. And I believe that's all I have. Does anyone have anything else? Moving on. Communications. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The open forum request form is now available in hard copy for in-person attendees or online for those who want to participate in open forum virtually. The link is located on the front page of the district website on the right-hand side. For those who want to participate virtually, the request must be emailed to Brenda T. at tbren@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak during open forum. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or the community during open forum. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. And seeing no open forum request or none sent in to the board secretary, we will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes,
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Beck. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Director Potts.
I'm sure I'd like to have us vote on 601 and 602 separately.
Okay. You stumped me for a second. Do I need to call for a vote to separate those, or we can just do it, right?
I think you have.
Okay. So you would like Director Hayes to modify the original motion? Or do you want to make a new motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll move a motion.
Okay.
You don't
To
make a
separate.
Yeah, I move that we vote on 601 and 602 separately. Second.
All right, is there any discussion? This vote I'm going to call for is to separate the two items, so we'll vote on each one separately. Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Postian,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes, motion carries. May I have a motion on item 6.01?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board adopt the contract with school date books to purchase planners. Did I say that correctly? Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. I'm trying to type all this out. So. Is there any discussion on that? Director, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
and my vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 6.02?
Mr. President,
Director Snyder.
I move that the board approve 6.02 of the consent agenda in regards to personnel, appointments, resignations, retirements, leaves, etc.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. President.
Director Potts.
I asked for the separation because I want to have a conversation in particular concerning the resignations. I had spoken before about my discomfort with the manner in which things were done, the way these folks were treated. I felt that the process was not very professional, that was rather callous, and it was pretty humiliating for those folks. Nothing's changed my opinion. I intend to abstain on voting on this item.
Thank you, Director Potts. Director Poston, you got something?
Yeah, my concern is the lack of input from the board, and then also on the salaries. Originally, it was talked about 150,000 a year, and now it's 165,000. This was never discussed in the finance committee meeting, and so I'm concerned about where we're going there. And I would also echo Director Potts' sentiments.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Call for the vote. Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Potts,
And abstain.
Director Poston,
No.
Director Klein Jerome,
Abstain.
Director Beck,
Yes.
and my vote is yes. Motion carries. Got everybody, right? May I have a motion on approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board adopt the resolution recommended by the administration for the adoption of the bills from the bill listing periods of April 22nd, 2021 to May 4th, 2021. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the treasurer, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of April 22nd, 2021 to May 4th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. I'm not missing none, right? We're on to the superintendent report.
Mm-hmm.
Superintendent report.
Well, I wanted to start off by acknowledging that last week was Teacher Appreciation. The Teacher Appreciation Day was inside of there, and when we discussed that, we kind of talked about staff appreciation. I would like to publicly thank all of our staff members that are working their way through a pandemic, working with students to get to their unfinished learning, helping students and families connect to resources, helping students connect to the social, emotional, behavioral health of, finding the resources and moving forward in that way. And our staff was just incredible. And I want to make sure that we took time to thank them for what they do publicly. With that being said, May is also School Board Recognition Month, and I wanted to take some time to reflect on the hard work that the school board has put in. The regular meetings with IESB, scheduling committees that regularly meet, and take the time to review and dig into our finances. Our policy committee that's occurring right now, that getting us back in line with IESB is incredible work. Our school board is doing quite a heavy lift right now, and I want to thank you guys for all the hard work that you do. You're volunteers, and you work tireless hours. And anybody that's ever even been around a school board member knows the work that it takes to become a very effective school board member, and I'm very proud to be a part of this team and this group of people that are moving in the right direction for our students. The last thing I wanted to talk about was our state school board meeting last week. President Goza and I attended in person, and Vice President was not feeling well that day, and so she was unable to attend. But at the state meeting, we reported on our monthly report was finished and filled out, and the main conversation points were about our youth leadership teams that have been established, and it was again a discussion about our next steps, but also a celebration of the progress that we've made. And so I think that we're definitely heading in the right direction. We are making progress, but it is not a time to take our foot off the gas pedal. So we need to continue that strong work and continue moving forward. And so that concludes my report. I want the school board to know that during this month, I want you to know you are very appreciated by your community, the hard work that you do, and the thanks that don't really come rolling in for you, but just know that they're there. And our teachers absolutely are doing a wonderful job trying to put a bow on this very difficult year right now for our students and move into the summer school. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you for that report. Committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Policy, LZAC. Director Snyder.
LZAC committee is meeting tomorrow night, actually in person, at 5:30. So we're excited to actually get back in person.
Director Beck.
Policy committee is continuing to work. We are hopefully getting close to being able to discuss some of the more comprehensive policies on district philosophy and student discipline. So looking forward to that.
Thank you, Director Beck. Any other committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on item 10.01?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the contract for Infinite Campus renewal and cloud hosting as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Postian.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.03?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the corrected 2021-22 academic calendar as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. I lost myself for a second. Hang on. Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I was just going to ask for a sort of explanation as to why the change.
I've asked Jamie Kroger to come and discuss that, as she and Rob Scott are the ones that exclusively work on our calendar. So thank you, Jamie. Jamie is an HR specialist, for those of you that do not know Jamie Kroger.
Thank you. So the calendar that was approved at the February 22nd board meeting was, there was a counting error on the December 2nd and 3rd days. So we actually had two days that we didn't count, so we were able to correct that, count them, and move this end date up 2 days.
Okay, okay.
Any other discussion?
And all those ayes, none of us caught that.
At that point, I think I did 49 calendars, so.
Any other questions?
That's like
discussion?
monopoly bank error in our favor.
All right, I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.03?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with maintenance and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener on July 1, 21 through June 30, 22 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through 6/30/23.
Is there a
Se-
second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.04?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the tentative agreement reached with Food and Nutrition Services and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener for July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.05?
Mr. President,
Director Potts.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with secretaries and ratified by the unit for wages for reopener for 7/1/21, 6/30/22 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through 6/30/23.
Thank
Sec-
you.
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.06?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with Paras and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener for 7/1/21 to 6/30/22 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through 6/30/23.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.07?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the tentative agreement reached with Custodial Security and Warehouse and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener for 7/1/21 through 6/30/22 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.08?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move that the board approve the tentative agreement reached with the Davenport Education Association and ratified by the union for the wage and language reopener for 7/1/21 to 6/30/22 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through 6/30/23.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Postian.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.09?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the following policies that have been discussed twice at board meetings and are recommended for approval by the policy committee. 401.02, employee conflict of interest. 401.03, nepotism. 401.06, limitations to employment references. 401.07, employee travel compensation. 401.08, recognition of service for employees. 401.09, employee political activity, and 402.02, child abuse reporting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Postian,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. On to discussion items. Item 11.01, Edgenuity contract. Mr. Superintendent.
So right now we are moving forward with a discussion on the Edgenuity contract. I want to go into the differences between the two. This Edgenuity contract is the local Davenport schools contract that we've had for years, which allows us credit recovery and it allows us new first-time learning for our students. It's a contract that you're probably familiar with. It's what we utilize during our summer school. It's what students can utilize to pick up any kind of credit lost. Or if you have a scheduling conflict, you can still continue with band, orchestra, things of that nature and still get your algebra credit taken. The difference between this, what we would like to move forward with is an expanded version of this for 3 years, which I'm looking at Kevin right now as an approval that this is ESSER related for this purchase. And we would like to expand that down to our junior highs, but also expand to the other offerings. Edgenuity over the course of this year has really learned a lot from the pandemic, and they have beefed up their CTE and technical port. The course assist students with effective credit recovery, things of that nature. And so we are looking to take the site license that we have now and beef it up and utilize that over the next couple of years. Edgenuity we've found to be a pretty good product for us. One of the benefits of Edgenuity is if a student enters into a credit recovery mode, they can pick up right where they left off because our curriculum department has aligned our standards with Edgenuity. And so it's beneficial in that way. So this is open up for discussion now. I don't know if Kevin, if we've got the exact numbers for the school board tonight. To be honest with you, Corey Guy was set to discuss this, and she got called into jury duty. As a matter of fact, she's probably listening online right now. And so I can do the best that I can to get this discussion item off the ground for us. The contract is a little bit beefier than what you're used to seeing in the past because we are getting all the bells and whistles as we do not know the hurdles that we're going to encounter moving forward in the next school year, and it's allowable. And so we're trying to get everything that Edgenuity offers because we think we're going to need it over the next couple of years. So that's kind of our Edgenuity, and that's our local Edgenuity. The next piece of Edgenuity, which is not this, I just don't want you to get confused with it, is the consortium piece through the AEA, where we will be utilizing the AEA's instructional services from Edgenuity to offer full-time online students in the future. So this is ours. It's in-house, not to be confused with that. So I guess with that piece, I'll open it up to conversation.
Director Hayes.
Superintendent Snuckroff, you mentioned beefing it up. Can you explain that or provide an example of what you mean by that?
Sure. So, for example, we had only offered core classes. So this is going to expand into, as you can see here in the description, social emotional learning. There's a huge social emotional learning piece to Edgenuity. There's also CTE offerings, which we haven't had in the past. And ours stopped at the contract that we've had in the past has been a high school contract. We're taking it down to middle school to help finish that unfinished learning in areas that we either can foresee or cannot foresee.
Okay, thank
Dan
you.
looks like he has a permanent question all the time.
It starts throbbing if I drop.
I understand.
Director Beck, were you done, Director Hayes?
Yes, that was more
She
for
can go ahead.
community.
She can finish up.
Were you done or no?
Yes, I was just saying I saw that, but that was more for community to know what that meant.
Thank you, Director Beck.
Yeah, I guess. So, this is administered with our teachers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Pedagogically, online education is not a substitute for face-to-face education. And I understand that we have to expand our capacity in terms of dealing with the pandemic. I mean, we were all online for such a long time. I guess I have some concerns about expanding the amount of time students are spending in front of screens for learning, and the idea that they are able to adequately gain the social and emotional learning that they need from an online platform. I guess I have a real hard time wrapping my head around that. And just the fact that having students at home alone, very few students thrive on online learning. It's a select set of students. So I guess I want to make sure that we're not setting them up for failure.
That's an excellent question. I'd like to clarify.
Okay.
So the expansion of the product does not mean we are expanding. It just means there's more tools that are available to us. So that's an excellent point. So this toolbox gets bigger for us.
Okay.
So the idea that a class might not be available, but a student could be successful in an online universe is a possibility for somebody that is having a scheduling conflict. The notion that at the middle school level that we do not have the content created in an area for a student to be able to pace along and have somebody watching that student. I think it's critical that in our system that we have somebody that's there watching that student pace through there. Otherwise, it is an absolute disaster if there's not intervention along the way. I totally agree with you. So I would just like to reiterate that this is an expansion of the toolbox. We are not expanding students in our own system to online. It just gives us more tools to access.
Okay. So I guess with the goal with this part of the contract is really to offer students who need supplemental instruction the opportunity to do so. So they're still spending a full day in school.
Absolutely.
But they can also
Yes.
access an extra class outside of normal school hours.
Absolutely.
Is that, and the idea is that used to only be available to high school students, and now it's available to middle school or junior high students.
Absolutely. As a tool for us to utilize to enhance our face-to-face learning.
Okay. And so how are students identified? I mean, all of our students were out of the classroom for a long period of time, and I realize, some were already at a deficit before they moved online and then just fell further behind. Others, whatever were fine, whatever they got through, they learned, and they'll make that up pretty easily. But how are students identified who would take advantage of something like this?
So in our high schools, it's about credit recovery. So we look where students are credit deficient, and then that's the beauty of Edgenuity. So if you've made it halfway through a class, you can pick up where you left off and move forward. It's about obtaining standards. It's about obtaining learning, not checking a box. So at our high school, at our middle school, I'm not as versed with that because we obviously haven't had it before. So I think that's a great question to get back to the school board.
Okay.
And I'd hate to give you an off-the-cuff answer that's not correct. So I will absolutely get you. That's a great question. How are students going to be accessing this at the middle school? I think that would be a great spot for a board report or a discussion item further.
Yeah, I guess I would say as a parent, if I found out that my son was lacking in something, I would want to do everything in my power to have him find a way to take that as a face-to-face course rather than online. But that is coming from being an online teacher and my own personal biases about how it works. If he's interacting with Davenport Schools teachers in real time, I know it can be done well, or at least, regularly, then I have more confidence in it. So I guess I'm curious, I'd like to find out more about how this would work. And I've always had this question about the high school one too, but I guess it's more important now that we have a bigger toolbox.
That's a great question.
Okay.
Director Poston.
I have the same concerns that Director Beck has, and then also, how do we put dollars on this? What's the program going to cost, and is it related to the amount of participation from our students? I mean, is it a set amount no matter how many students participate, or how does that all come about? And then when we talk about ESSER dollars, you said you were going to sign up for 3 years. Now ESSER dollars will cover that for all 3 years. And then my other concern is this the best use of ESSER dollars? Because to me, for an example, I would say a reading interventionist should be high on the list of where we're spending our ESSER dollars. And so, I want to make sure we're getting the right mix here and that we're using the ESSER dollars appropriately.
Well, that's a great question. To come back to it, this is a program that we utilize every year. It's absolutely pivotal in our credit recovery and offering of first-time learning. So this is a program that we utilize. If we didn't have this, we would have a major hole in our academic delivery system, and particularly at our high school. So this is a very appropriate use of those funds. What this is it's not a replacement of anything. It's just allowing us more tools in our toolbox to help students with unfinished learning. So it actually is going to enhance that. The 3-year contract is much cheaper. That's why we're putting this out here, and we'll get hard numbers for the board, sent to the board. We need this program to run our high school summer school this year. We absolutely need it, and we're going into July 1 without the contract. So while this is, I want to make it very clear that this does not replace our teachers. Nothing can replace our teachers. Nothing's better than our teachers. Face-to-face learning, you've heard me say and everyone on here say that that's number one and will continue to be our number one mode of education. This is a tool that helps us deliver on unfinished learning. And it's not something we are forcing students onto. It's an absolute tool to help students get to finish their learning. I think that's the best way to describe it. So the contract that we have before you is beefed up, enhanced. It absolutely fits into the mindset of Edgenuity, and we have funding sources that we use for sustainability. So moving forward, this is something that we will always have a need for unless the state of Iowa comes in and pays for it. But for now, it's something that's absolutely mandatory for us to have as an educational system to help with unfinished learning. And unfinished learning happens all the time at our secondary schools where students need to recover those credits, or our kids get in a bind where they have to choose this class or this class, but if I can do a math class or whatever it may be on Edgenuity, I can still continue to do my passions of welding, band, drama, those kinds of things. So we do utilize it to patch holes in that way. So I absolutely hear your concerns, Director Poston, with that. This is by no means replacing our teachers, and I don't think this is a this or that situation. I think it's an and situation.
So is there a flat contract fee? And if so, what is it?
Kevin, do you have the contract, proposed contract in front of you?
I do not, but I can tell you the reason we're exploring the 3-year option is a 20% discount on the annual amount, paying for it within the window of when we can use ESSER funds would be appropriate. So it stretches our dollars a lot further, both in the discount and getting that third year beyond the ESSER years.
Now, the ESSER dollars aren't available right now, right?
Yes, they are available right now.
They are. So that you could plug that into that contract right away.
Yes.
Were you done, Director Poston? Director Snyder?
I don't know that much about Ingenuity, but I do know that a year ago, I mean, obviously over the last year, we have utilized this a lot more than normal because of the situation the world was in. But there were a lot of Ingenuity concerns that I don't know at what grade level. I don't know exactly what the concerns were, as you know, the board generally doesn't get involved in day-to-day type operations. Our focus is more finance and policy. But I'm assuming whatever concerns there were have been addressed, because I haven't heard of any in quite some time. My other question is there a competing alternative to Ingenuity out there, and how come we've been using them for years, but is there anything else, you know, that we should be looking at?
Those are great questions. I'll start from the last one, because that's the one, and if you will remember the first one and restate it, that will be very helpful to me. We were with Apex, and the difference with Apex is that it had, you had to start over. So with credit recovery, if you were a quarter of the way through your social studies, it wasn't as tight aligned to our coursework. So the reason why we are not quick to move away from Edgenuity is our curriculum specialists, our curriculum department tightly aligned our coursework and any new coursework to Edgenuity. So our standards, our learning progressions are tightly aligned with it. And that's why we moved away from Apex Learning, for those of you that remember that. The other one, I think question one was the issues associated with Edgenuity. Edgenuity was inundated with the pandemic, and their instructional services, and they had, and I please bear with me, I see it as a dial, and their dial was turned up and the pacing was too fast, and so we had to listen to our instructors, our curriculum department, to find that pacing that is just right, that fits our department. So the issues were the pacing, the dialing, and the inundation of the instructional services with Edgenuity. And what that means is Edgenuity has to hire their own teachers. And so everybody was in that boat early on. And what we realized is that our students in this time need our teachers. And I think if we were to rewind the tapes, that's what we found. So I think those were the main issues with Edgenuity. Going back to this is our contract inside our district. Our teachers are watching. Our teachers are assigning the grades. We are utilizing that to fill holes, to work with unfinished learning for students. And that's why I believe that this will be more successful and the right program for us, because we have put a lot of work into it. The state is looking into an online learning platform. And so whether or not that becomes a mandatory thing or something that's free and utilized for us. But right now, coming into the summer for our unfinished learning for our students, we think this is the absolute best option for us. Our staff is trained on it. We're tightly aligned with it, and we are ready to roll on June 17th.
Thank you.
Director Beck?
Just a follow-up question, I guess, and you started to hit on it. So in my line of work, the institution I work for uses Canvas, but we write the courses. You know, it's the same course I'm teaching in person. Obviously, I've been trained I'm training to modify it for an online environment. It's not identical. So Edgenuity is not just a platform for hosting courses. Is that correct? It's got other stuff, or the way we use it, it is a platform for hosting courses. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. I think with the pandemic, we used their teachers, right? and that was part of the issue. But the way we use it now and the way this contract, this part would go is more of a platform for our courses that our teachers are administering. Is that how it would be described?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just trying to wrap my head
I
around.
tried to jump into the college professor realm, and I think that is exactly the way that is.
Okay,
Not the way that you do it, but the way that you described it is how
okay.
it is.
It's basically our courses, our teachers administer it, assign the work, do the grading. Some of the framework is in place from Edgenuity, and the platform is there from Edgenuity. Okay.
I believe so.
Director Kleindro?
This is not pandemic ingenuity. This is, you did not pass my English class. You have to have this English class in order to pass. Here's an opportunity for you to take it because your schedule is full. Here's an opportunity. So it's, when students get to high school, they often don't realize, if I don't pass, I will take this again until I pass. And this is an opportunity to be able to fit that into their schedule. And it's been going on a long time, credit recovery. So this is not the same as what we did pandemic-wise.
Spoken from a
Yep.
Yeah.
retired teacher.
Yep.
Any other questions? So I'm assuming you're going to bring this to a vote at
Yes.
probably like the 24th or so. Is there any things that the board needs to be able to vote on this? Director Snyder.
Just whenever it's available, cost compared to where we're at now, what if there's an increase, just kind of a breakdown as to costs, where it fits into the budget. Did we plan for what it's going to cost into the budget? And I realize it's coming out of ESSER dollars, so it's not coming out of the general fund, but I guess just how it is encompassed financially.
And how much that 20% savings is too, right? Anything else? All right, we will move on to item 11.02. I will turn that over to Director Beck.
Okay, so we have a number of policies for our second discussion. And I think because we have a number of them, I'm just going to bring up each one and see if anybody has questions or comments, if that works for people. So the first one is employee outside employment. We have a similar policy that we are adopting for administrators. Basically, this is your job. You can have other jobs, but as long as they're not interfering with your work. That's the first one. Okay. The second one is policy 404, employee conduct and appearance. This is related to the Board of Educational Examiners' criteria of professional practices. Basically, it's just, how do we describe it? Don't show up to work in your pajamas unless it's pajama day and you're teaching elementary school, in which case I think it's acceptable. Mr. Potts, do you have a question?
Yeah, this policy doesn't supersede our attire policy, our clothing policy. does
Work
it?
rules?
Yeah. Okay. And we're still enforcing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good question.
Excellent question. Okay, the next one is licensed employee publication or creation of materials. I believe we discussed this one briefly last time. No? Okay. Policy 408.03, licensed employee tutoring. Basically, you can be a tutor, but you should not tutor the students that are in your classroom. Sort of the nuts and bolts of that one. And it's essentially what we already do in practice. Okay, 410.02, summer school licensed employees. Basically, when we have summer school options, we open up the opportunities to our district employees first, and then we will fill them from elsewhere if we need to. Okay. 410.04, this is called Education Associate. This is basically defining the role of paraeducators, but it, again, does not supersede contract language. It's just basically establishing the idea that there can be paraeducators. Okay, 501.01, resident students, it just establishes, or reflects current Iowa law and says which students living in the district come to school in Davenport tuition-free because it's public schools. 501.02, non-resident students, basically outlining, again, reflecting current Iowa law. It is basically if you are a non-resident student but you don't qualify for open enrollment, here's how you might be able to enroll. And it also puts into place a policy that students who are in grades 11 or 12 whose families move out of the district can complete their schooling in the district. Yes.
I actually just caught something in here, and I don't know if this is the practice or actually who does this, but in the first paragraph, the last sentence in that non-resident says the tuition rate is the current per pupil cost of the school district as computed by the board secretary.
You're right. That is not who computes that. That would be, I believe, Kevin's job, right? So thank you for catching that. Brenda, did you catch that? Okay, because she doesn't want to be computing that. So it should be the CFO and authorized by the Department of Education. Anyone else? Okay. Let's see. The next one is allowing people to enroll. Basically, you have to be 5 prior to September 15th to participate in kindergarten. And then age 6 on or prior to September 15th to start first grade. And you have to turn in your health and immunization forms before you register. So pretty much what we already do and reflects current Iowa law. All right, the next one is 501.06. This is about students who are transferring in, basically saying they have to meet the same health and immunization requirements as any students who initially enrolled in the district, and that records can be transferred over from the previous district. There's a note saying that by law, school districts do not need parental permission to request student records from previous school districts. Okay. The next one is 501.07, transfers out or withdrawals. Basically, this puts the onus on the parents to notify the district that the student is leaving and where that student is going. And I believe, what was it? Oh, yeah. And if the student is being withdrawn, is compulsory education age, so 16 or younger, and is being withdrawn, it puts the onus on the parents to provide evidence that the student is receiving education. Yep.
At the end of that first paragraph, where they need to check out the library books, locker equipment, hot lunch tickets, which made me laugh because when I was a kid, we used tickets. Not the case anymore. Could we change tickets to accounts?
I'm sorry, can you, it got a little mumbly.
It says hot lunch tickets. We don't have tickets. We have accounts. Nobody has a ticket.
Right.
I did when I was a kid. I actually had a ticket, but not the case anymore. So it should read
Yeah,
accounts.
we should probably adjust that to, library books, locker equipment, et cetera, and leave out the hot lunch tickets. We can change the wording a little bit so it matches what we actually do
I think saying accounts is appropriate.
accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
put accounts. And actually, the word accounts would apply to any accounts, right? So
Well, I think this is
really
through
lunch
hot
is the only one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got to go back. 41004, Education Associates. We don't refer to our paraeducators as education associates. Their contract is paraeducators. Should we be renaming that to paraeducator versus education associate?
That's a good question. We actually talked about that a little bit in policy committee and didn't really come to a decision. I don't know.
I mean, our contract with them says paraeducators. I mean, that's how we refer to them in everything.
Any thoughts on that?
Honestly, the first time I saw education associates, I didn't know who they were talking about until I started reading more.
Director Snyder?
I guess when I read this, education associate is more than just paraeducators. It could be literacy coaches, it could be math coaches, it could be other people in the classroom other than the teacher is kind of the way I interpreted it, but maybe I'm wrong.
I can't remember, honestly. I know we discussed it, and I believe we said this was a little broader than paraeducator, but
Yeah.
I don't know the definitions of those terms,
How do
so.
we classify accompanists?
Oh, that's a good question.
Except math coaches and literacy coaches are teachers. They are not.
I think the difference, it says assisting licensed personnel in non-teaching duties, including but not limited to. So I think these are all non-licensed. So maybe that's why it was it's kept general, because that encompasses more than paraeducators probably.
Yeah, Director Potts just said accompanists, right? Yeah, so. Okay. Is there somebody in the administration we should check with before we vote on this one to make sure that, I mean, you're the top, but.
No, I think it's appropriate there. I think if it were specific to paraeducators,
Okay.
but I think associate kind of hits anybody that is in that non-licensed.
Arose by any other name.
So I wonder if it would be helpful to say other instructional support personnel such as paraeducators. That way, if you do a search in our policies for the term paraeducator, you'll find this policy. Would that,
I think that would address Director Klein-Drome's concern.
Karen, would that help there?
Somewhere that it would
Okay.
come up.
Why don't we do that? Brenda, so we'll put in such as paraeducators in that first line.
Maybe get a list of them.
Yeah.
Of the other positions.
Yeah. That way, when people do a search, they can find that position and it'll be a little bit clearer. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good one. Let me just finish making a note.
Does that adequately address your concern, Director Klein-Drome?
Yeah.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So I think 501.07, student transfers out or withdrawals. Did you have a question on this one, Director Klein-Jerome? Okay.
Just the lunch thing, but that was it.
Okay. Anyone? All right. The next one is 501.08. It's just student attendance records. Who's in charge of making sure that we have them? And in some districts, apparently the board secretary is in charge of that, but not our district. So that we have attendance records and we put them in the student file. All right, 501.09 is excused student absences, basically outlining what types of absences are excused, and that accommodations will be made for different types of situations on a case-by-case basis. And then one of the other important ones is that students who wish to participate in school-sponsored activities have to attend school the day of the activity unless there's been some kind of permission given. So you can't call in sick and still go play in the basketball game after school. Okay. Okay, 501.11, we went with option 1 because we do not have open campuses, so this is basically that students don't leave the school district facilities during school hours unless they have authorization from parents. Pretty standard, and that the administration comes up with the regulations for this policy. So the only reason it says option 1 is because there's different wording for students, for school districts that have open campuses, which we do not. All right, and then the last one, 501.12, pregnant students. We just updated the language saying that pregnant students are encouraged to attend school as long as physically possible, and how to proceed with returning to classes. So that's it. And so these will come up for a vote at our next regular meeting with the noted changes that we made, a couple of minor changes we made. But if you have any questions in the meantime, don't be afraid to send them to the policy committee. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Director Beck. We'll move on to subject 11.03, electronic signatures for teacher contracts.
So one of the things that our HR department is working on is starting to get into a proactive mode. I know one of the things that Jamie's working on are onboarding surveys for when our employees resign, things of that nature. And one of the other things that she's working on is an electronic contract. And so Jamie's here to talk about what's before you here. Thank you, Jamie.
Sure, no problem. So shortly after I started in July, it had been brought to my attention that our teachers hadn't received their contracts for the next school year, and ultimately the teachers got them, I think, on their first day of school. So Jamie Krager has done a nice job working with Heartland AEA and seeing what other districts have been doing, and we've been able, they're working with us to utilize our current Business Plus system, and everything that we already enter in there will basically compile into an electronic contract that all of the teachers would be able to access through Employee Online. And then when they go in there, if they have multiple contracts, it'll break it out, it'll total it at the bottom. There are some screenshots in the board agenda. And then basically by using their login credentials into Employee Online, they can do an acknowledge and do an electronic signature process. So we're able to hopefully get these out to them before our school year ends, so they know that they have a job and what their contract is going to be. Also try to improve the process with finance to get the teacher supplemental so we can go out earlier with that as well. And part of the reason for bringing it up here is we would need for you to approve an electronic signature process for our contracts.
Okay.
I knew you'd have a question. She's old school. She
It's
taps it
it's
in
not.
the
I
tablet.
know. It's not a question. I like it. I really, really like it because I did not like the fact that they were getting it the first day of school. I think this is great. Is there an easy way for you to track who has done it and who hasn't?
Absolutely. The great thing is it's all integrated within our Business Plus system. So we're not going to have to worry about sending out pieces of paper to get it signed and get a copy back or placing it into their file. It's all going to be integrated into one system.
So within 2 weeks, you'd know who hadn't signed it and already submitted it.
Yep, and they can also print out if they wanted a hard copy for themselves,
Oh, I think this is great.
so.
Director Beck.
Yeah, I was just going to say this is awesome. And my question is, do all teachers already have that online portal set up so they already know how to access it? This isn't something extra that they're going to have to learn.
No, it's a place that houses their any health leave time.
Oh, okay.
They can go out there and get information on their payroll and stuff. So
Okay.
this would just be putting it out in there. And again, people would have their login credentials and be able to log
Awesome.
in to do the sign off.
Awesome. I like the idea of having it done before the end of the school year. That makes a lot of sense. So,
I think this is great. It's kind of like getting with the times. Instead of like writing checks out, you get a debit card. So I think it's kind of like something.
I was waiting.
That's a shot.
So I'm assuming we'll need to vote on this at a future meeting. Do you need any other information for this? Thank you, Ms. Weinzero.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Board request? Are there any board requests? Administrative reports.
Not at this time.
All right. Who am I going to start with tonight? Director Beck, you're always the first one to talk. What is your reflections on the meeting tonight?
I'm not sure if that was a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. So first of all, Jabari's presentation on the time capsule of hope was fantastic. Excellent speech, and just such an interesting and fun and important project that I think is really, I don't know, it's just nice to have that hope. And then the other thing is just sort of the smoothness with which we proceeded through our meeting. We already talked about almost everything, and so, one time or two times, and so we're able to have, we don't have to drag on the discussion and then expect to come to a resolution the same night that we have to vote on it. And I think that's a real improvement from what we've been doing. So even when we don't all agree, we're still able to move relatively smoothly through the processes.
Thank you. Director Postian?
I think just the smoothness of the meeting and all the discussion that was on the various topics. I think the meeting went quite smoothly, and I think that would be my highlight of the night.
Thank you. See, Director Klein-Jerome, I got you like in the middle. You didn't have to be at the very beginning.
There you go. I like the fact that Jamie saw that there was a problem and jumped right in and found a solution to it with the electronic signatures for contracts. I think that was great. I did miss student recognition at the beginning when we celebrated some student achievements tonight, so I would like to see that happen more frequently. And I also found the time capsule ceremony was a very cool event to attend, and for Jabari's presentation of it tonight too. That was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Potts?
Well, I would echo Jabari's report on the time capsule, but I also would say that I think it's a positive that we wrapped up all of our contracts with our staff, our union staff, within the parameters that we had established. And we obviously had a cooperative agreement with everyone. And I think that's very important for us in the position that we're in and what's coming down in the future.
Thank you. Director Snyder?
Yeah, I guess I'll echo whoever said last week that going last isn't fun because everybody steals your things. But that's the couple things I was gonna say. One, the time capsule, I certainly wasn't about to say anything about it after Jabari did, because there's no way I would be able to say it anywhere near as eloquently as he did. So I just figured it'd be better to leave that alone. Again, thank you to all of our staff on the agreements, going forward. Obviously, we would always wish that we could give them more. So, I mean, that's unfortunate, but where we were at, we appreciate everybody working with us. And in regards to, I think it was Director Beck and a few people that mentioned the efficiency of our meeting, I think the other aspect of that is nice is I think it's being respectful of our staff's time that comes in for these meetings as well. That we're not sitting here hashing the same things out over and over and over. We have more time to work through them, and I think that's being respectful of their time, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Director Hayes.
I could certainly echo what previous board members said, but I would also like to say that I like the fact that after the discussions that we had, that President Gosa asked what more information that we need. So now's our opportunity to discuss it when we come to the next board meetings that we do have the opportunity to vote on these issues, that everything is all spelled out and clear, concise, and we know exactly what we're doing, creating unity and the ability to carry out smooth meetings. And my hopes are that they only continue to get better, because this has been a very effective meeting and we've not spent a lot of time hashing out things. Everything has been brought to us from the front loading of the agenda committee down to this meeting that's really showing how effective we can be. And with that, I would also like to thank Harry and Luann and their team for guiding us through that process and assisting us to have smoother meetings.
Thank you. Superintendent Schneckler.
The proactiveness of the electronic signatures for teacher contracts, I think, is anytime we can become proactive and not reactive, I think is a positive, along with the other sentiments that were stated.
I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you and working with all of you. It is nice to be able to go to the state board meetings and they're a little more positive now, and being able to say we might not all agree all the time, but at least we can work together respectfully. And I think we've learned a lot from the IASB stuff and things like that. These meetings are always productive for me, and I appreciate, like, when I get hung up on something, everybody's willing to help, so I do appreciate that. The last thing I want to say, all of our staff that either are leaving, resigning, or whatever, we wish you well and thank you very much for your dedication and service to the district. Greatly appreciate you, and wish you the best in your future endeavors or wherever it is that it takes you. And with that, again, I appreciate all of you, and I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.